servers. Then using asynchronous, using the PostgreSQL engine to replicate from the primary up to 5 replicas. The feature is actually meant for scenarios where the lag is acceptable and meant for uploading queries. A very common scenario are business intelligence scenarios where you need to do reporting, and it doesn't necessarily, you can have minutes or delays whatsoever, some latency between these workloads in order for you to represent results and data to the business. It's also a very common scenario for read-heavy workloads, which might be coming from web apps or any form of analytics, or a very commonly used technique to bring the data closer to the users when users are looking and targeting some dedicated tools onto a data center that they will give them less latency compared to the data center that the initial server was being configured. Now, as we mentioned, query performance is like, what are the capabilities and tools that I have around query performance? So the query performance inside view gives you that capability and that viewpoint on what are my top weight events, what are my long-running queries, what are my poor performing queries. It will give you insights into the event type and the event name, give you the query ID, and also give you insights into the query text. So you can then evaluate on some of these actions that you might want to take in order to move things forward and in order for you to start optimizing. So query performance monitoring is one aspect. Query performance insights and the Azure performance recommendations that come from this feature really allow you to look on some index advisors on whether or not you want to create additional indexes based on the usage of the database. The recommendation tool will actually give you that performance recommendation. It will give you a create index or a drop index analysis and really say like, hey, if you were to implement this, this is going to give you some better performance. Now, we did mention this at the beginning of the session. We talked about advanced threat protection. This is probably one of the core features that I really would like you to configure as you're spinning up this server. Not only does it detect the anomalous database activities, which could be some potential security threats to the database, that could go to some really weird query behavior based on the connection that's being sent or based on the source IP address and so on. So you have some really good insights to provide security and alerts on anomalous database activities and prevent things like SQL injections and so on as well. So that's a very easy thing to configure and very easy thing to enable. You just do this in the portal like I previously showed you. Well, let me just bring this back for just 1 second here. Because what you would do there is go to this server setting here and actually configure advanced threat protection just in a very similar way that you enable the intelligent performance here, or you can enable the read replicas in a very similar fashion. You would enable advanced threat protection and then set up an alert system that would automatically notify subscription owners or admins about this performance or threat-related issue. Very easy to configure and actually very easy to understand and implement. At the same time, what I showed you previously is that this server has been up and running, has been configured. That really takes me to the call to action, not only for this session, but for everything that you have done as part of the Azure virtual training days. So switching back to the presentation here for one of these last slides, is what we've shown you is really a great opportunity to get your hands on Azure data. We have a set of learning paths and a certification that's called Azure Data Fundamentals, which gives you a really great overview of all the data capabilities that we have on Azure. One of the other learning paths that is not referenced here, but you'll discover that on the Learn portal as well, as we have also an AI Fundamentals, that will lead you to that certification.